Welcome to 2023, everyone. It has been a while, but I'm finally back making content again, making videos. I got some fun stuff for you to kick off this year here. A few different videos I hope to get out in the next few days, but I decided I would start with something fun because this is something I've actually been thinking about for a while, and I figured, why think about it on my own when I could make a video about it? So what we're going to do today is essentially my predictions for the rest of Marvel Phase 6. Because Kevin Feige, when he, at Comic-Con in 2021, he went out, he announced all of Phase 5 and only 3 things from Phase 6. And that was Fantastic Four, which had already been announced but got a date, and Avengers The Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. So that's it, but there were still 8 completely empty spots on that timeline. So it's led to a lot of speculation about what those slots are going to be. So I took a crack at it, and I formed an opinion, I guess. I basically created my own Phase 6 timeline that we're going to talk about here. So first thing to get out of the way, there's been some delays that have kind of made this timeline already inaccurate. So what we're going to do, I'm actually going to pull it up on my computer just so I have it to look at. We're taking that initial timeline that Feige used, and then we're just moving a couple things around. So initially, Fantastic Four was coming out November 8th of 2024, and Avengers Secret Wars was coming out November 7th of 2025. Both of those have been pushed. So Fantastic Four is actually coming out on Valentine's Day of 2025, and Avengers Secret Wars was pushed to May 1st of 2026. That kind of extends our timetable a little bit. And then, obviously, we have some things already announced, so I'm going to toss those on the timeline first, just because that gives me a good base of kind of what we're dealing with already. So, Blade was supposed to come out this fall. We all know about the production issues that's facing, so that actually got delayed a whole year to September 6th, 2024, which, if we look at the Phase 5 timeline to match that, Phase 5 ends with Thunderbolts in July of 2024, so that actually does push Blade into Phase 6. So, Blade's September 6th of that year, which was initially Deadpool 3's spot, but Deadpool 3 then got pushed to make room for Blade, and so now Deadpool 3 is November 8th, 2024. So that's our timeline now. Those 5 things are announced. We know those. So now the rest of it, it's just a matter of filling in those gaps, and some of these I have a reasoning for. I have a visual version of it, and then I have like my notes written up. So some of these I have a reason for. And some of these I just put there because intuition. So let's start at the beginning. Let's not get ahead of ourselves to the more exciting stuff. Let's start at the beginning with Armor Wars. Now, this was interesting because they turned Armor Wars into a movie. So if we have to look back at our Phase 5 timeline here. We're getting, next year, we're supposed to be getting Captain America New World Order, Thunderbolts, Blade, and Deadpool 3. So that's already 5 movies. Armor Wars makes it 5. Did I do that right? Yeah, Captain America, Thunderbolts, Blade, Deadpool 3. Yeah. Armor Wars makes that 5 movies. This is actually a good time to point out, I don't think all of these dates are set in stone. I think the timeline's going to stretch a little more, but I do think that the order these are coming out, that's mainly what I'm looking for here, is more so the order we might see these based on the time period. So I think it's a safe bet that Armor Wars might actually kick off Phase 6, mainly because we know about it. Like, they've announced it, Don Cheadle's talked about it a bunch, but it's not in the Phase 5 slate, which leads me to believe it's in Phase 6. And considering how far ahead in production it seems to be, It's probably the first thing in Phase 6. So I'm going to plug Armor Wars in on our little timeline right at the start on that first date. And then fast forward ahead, Armor Wars, Blade, Deadpool 3, that winter of 2024 there, I have Wonder Man. I didn't actually know where to put this, but something about Wonder Man being a little lighthearted Hollywood-based comedy seems like it could fit for Christmas time. And also, I was feeling it. I was just feeling putting it there. Something maybe a bit smaller before we get into the big intensities that the rest of Phase 6 is going to be. So, we're going to put Wonder Man right there, winter 2024. And then that brings us into 2025, where we obviously have Fantastic Four on February 14th of that year. And then we move into spring. My dog's barking. So, 2025 is interesting because 2025 really does seem like the most booked year. At least in my version of the timeline. It is. And I think we're going to see a few more shows in here. Actually, we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I think Nova is a good thing to fill that spot with. We're going to be not hot off, it'll be 2 years later, but, you know, Guardians is wrapping up in a few months. And then Nova, obviously, Nova Corps, Xandar, related to the Guardians. I think bringing Nova in is a thing that's inevitable. Might honestly be teased in Guardians 3, I don't know. But I think introducing Nova there to then help fight with Avengers, Young Avengers, whatever, safe bet. Also, they can't avoid Nova for much longer. Everyone wants Nova. We're all waiting. Okay, moving on from Nova. There has to be a movie spring 2025. So we have Avengers the Kang Dynasty. Avengers 5 taking that first weekend of May spot, kicking off summer movie season like they always do with the Avengers movies. And given Infinity War and Endgame, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually push it up a week to the last week of April. But forget about that. For now, it's May 2nd, 2025. If we think back to 2018 and 2019, when Infinity War and Endgame were coming out, Black Panther took that February spot before Infinity War, and then Captain Marvel took the March spot a month and a half before Endgame came out. They're going to want to do that again. It is insane how much money they can make off having that pre-Avengers slot, because everyone goes to see that movie knowing the next one is Avengers, and this is like the prequel to Avengers. They're gonna fill that with something. And personally, I think it's Shang-Chi 2. This has been rumored to be called Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time. There was a trademark filed. Is the leak real? I don't know. But the leak for all the Phase 5 shit was real, and for these two Avengers movies, so I'm kind of betting on it. Now, the reason I think this is going to go here to lead up to Avengers, one, because it'll be 40 years since the first Shang-Chi, sequel turnaround time, I think that makes sense. Second, Wreckage of Time. Kang is like the master of time. So having a time-related story before the Avengers have to assemble back up to deal with a time-traveling dude seems right. I know there's some people who've had this between both Avengers movies saying time will be wrecked after Kang Dynasty and Shang-Chi will have to do this before Secret Wars. I don't think so. I think there's a different event, a different big event that's going to be pre-Secret Wars. So I think this is going to be pre-Kang Dynasty is where we're putting Shang-Chi 2. Moving on. And this one I'll actually explain later, and you guys will know why later. I have Midnight Suns in the fall of 2025, sitting comfortably between both Avengers movies, and I'll get into why later. But the Midnight Suns are here in this fall slot. Moving on, we only have one more thing before Secret Wars, and I think this character might actually be absent from the Kang Dynasty. That's Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange 3 is going to fall in that spring spot before Avengers Secret Wars. Now, the reason this is the perfect place to put Doctor Strange 3 is because if we remember that post-credit scene from Multiverse of Madness, where, is it Clea comes to Doctor Strange, and she says he caused an incursion, they have to fix it, they go into the dark dimension. Secret Wars is a multiverse story. We learned about what can happen when you do too much multiverse meddling in Multiverse of Madness. That's literally what Secret Wars is. So what better way to prep us for Secret Wars than teaching us more about incursions and alternate dimensions and alternate timelines with the dude who showed it to us the first time. So I think Doctor Strange 3 is going to go that spring before Secret Wars, catch us up on incursions before the ultimate multiverse event. So that fills out the timeline, but we're not done. I actually have more stuff, because if we look at everything that's been announced or heavily rumored, here's what we have, okay? Spider-Man 4, Eternals 2, a Scarlet Witch project, Vision Quest, an Okoye show, a Ten Rings show, a Hercules or Thor thing, a Young Avengers show, X-Men, and World War Hulk. That's a lot. They're not fitting all of this into Phase 6, but I do think a few of these things are going to go here. So I'm actually going to work not chronologically on this. I'm going to start with there's 3 things I added to the timeline with a strong feeling that they're going to go here. So I'm actually going to start with the second one, then the third one, then the first one. So in the summer of 2025, kind of after Kang Dynasty, I put Vision Quest. Now, it's interesting because a lot of people would have actually put the Scarlet Witch solo project here, but the reason I put Vision Quest here is, to be real, I don't think they're doing a Scarlet Witch solo project. That's just kind of my, conspiracy theory. I don't think they're doing one. She got her solo with WandaVision, and let's be real, Multiverse of Madness was basically her film. I think Agatha Coven of Chaos and Vision Quest are the sequels to that Wanda Maximoff story. We're going to get more lore, and she's going to be reintroduced. She'll probably be in Agatha. She'll definitely be in Vision. And I think they'll bring her back and be like, yo, we got some shit to deal with. Come help us. How cool would it be if after the Avengers get their shit kicked in, Vision's out on his little journey, and he's like, I just found the most powerful entity in the world. This'll help. That's my 2 cents. I'm not one of those people who thinks Wanda's dead. In fact, I think she's very much alive. She's just in a creative limbo right now where they benched her until they have a reason to bring her back in. Another thing I should also point out, Avengers Secret Wars is being written by Michael Waldron, who's the guy that wrote The Loki Show and Multiverse of Madness. Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, and Loki, those are the 3 characters he's done. So he's kind of at home with them. I think we're seeing them again. Because if anyone would be the one to pick up that storyline, it would be him. Say what you will about him. If there was someone who could pick up Wanda Maximoff from where she was left off, it's the guy who wrote that story. Moving on. This is why I said 2025 is packed, because this other thing I'm also putting in 2025. But the winter, at the end of 2025, kind of going into 2026, that's the Young Avengers. So I actually wasn't sure if I should put this on here, because I don't fully know if they're going to embrace this. But part of me thinks this Avengers duology is actually an Avengers trilogy, and that there is a Young Avengers project in here that connects to Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. You have so many Young Avengers running around. You have Kate Bishop, Speed and Wiccan, who will probably be back in Agatha. You've got America Chavez. I don't know if they're going to make Miss Marvel a Young Avenger until the X-Men come in. But, she's young. You have Patriot from Captain America New World Order. You have Kid Loki, who they introduced in Loki. You have all these young Avengers popping up in the MCU. They have to do something with them. They can't just tease them and wait years down the line when none of these people are kids anymore to do something with them. I think we're actually going to see the assembly of the Young Avengers or Avengers Academy. I don't know what it's called. There's a trademark for Avengers Academy, so it might be called that. And I actually think this would be a great Disney Plus show. Leave the big Avengers titles for the screen. Young Avengers can totally go to the small screen. I think it'd be a good TV show, kind of building up the camaraderie and the friendship and the bond between those characters before bringing them in as a giant crossover or whatever Secret Wars is going to be. I don't know how it's going to be one movie with all these rumors. But, yes. And the last thing on here, now I do want to preface this, and by preface I mean remind you, that if we go based off the timeline I have created here, there's 5 movies in 2024. Captain America New World Order, Thunderbolts, Armor Wars, Blade, and Deadpool 3. That's a lot of movies. I'm going to add one more. Because I really think Sony's going to want to fast-track Spider-Man 4. I think they're going to try to fast-track it, and they're going to try to plug it into the same slot they gave No Way Home. I think they're going to want to go end of next year with it, coming off the heels of Daredevil Born Again, which is next year. That hype with Kingpin and Daredevil, and we're also going to have Deadpool coming in at this point. I think, and knowing there's an Avengers movie a few months out, I think Sony's going to want to do everything they can to get a Tom Holland Spider-Man 4 in the MCU out next year. So, and considering that the Spider-Man movies, even though they're, in partnership with Marvel Studios, they're a Sony thing, they can ultimately put them in whatever year they feel like. They can put them wherever they feel like, and Marvel has to deal with it. So I think they're going to try to push a 6th movie in next year, and we're actually going to see Spider-Man in the winter. So, last thing on here, what about everything else? What about all those other things I mentioned? Eternals, Okoye, Ten Rings, Thor, X-Men. I don't think those are Phase 6. And I know everyone thinks the mutants are going to be introduced in Phase 6. I don't think that's true. I think Deadpool 3 is our gateway drug to the mutants coming in Phase 7. But I don't think we're getting that here. I don't think they're going to want to introduce that much new stuff that close to the wrapping up. I mean, I say that they introduced Captain Marvel a month before Endgame came out, so I guess that's kind of null and void, isn't it? But there's so many projects that are announced or that we know are happening that just cannot possibly fit on here. And if we also take into account that Destin Daniel Cretton is directing Wonder Man and the Kang Dynasty, and maybe Shang-Chi too, I don't think he's doing the Ten Rings show that he's signed on to do. So, push that, right? As for stuff like Thor, I'm going to talk about Thor later, but the rest of these projects I didn't mention on this timeline, I don't think we're getting them as part of the multiverse saga. But there you guys go. That Thor thing I was talking about, that's going to be a separate video. Sorry if I misled you. But there you guys go. That's my prediction for what Phase 6 of the MCU will be. Let me know what you think it might be down in the comments below. Also leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.